volume's turned off on the YouTube here. And
All right. I'm joined by Iridium Kush and his cat. And tonight we are going to explore why the degeneracy that we're seeing all around us is being pushed. What's the story behind this? How did it become normal to promote abnormality? Why is the relationships that men and women have had for thousands of years, why is that now a bad thing?
Because of more feelings.
Yeah, because of more feelings.
And I think it's just I grew up in a very traditional, very conservative household, and my parents I was originally born in Chicago, and my parents even saw then in Chicago, they saw the writing on the wall, just the liberalization of the city, the way that Democrats are just taking over everything. They decided to move to Michigan, West Michigan, where I grew up, which is a much more conservative area, because they saw back then the problems. And I grew up in more of like a generation like my parents would have grown up in, not what there was a real divide, I think. I noticed it too that when I was young, all the kids who were problem kids in high school came from broken families. I mean, you could set your watch to it.
Yeah.
You could set your watch to it. And you had the one guy who got a girl pregnant when she was 16, but it wasn't rampant. It was like a one guy kind of thing in the high school class did that. It wasn't half the class. And at some point, and I remember too, when I went to college, going to college actually meant something. Like, I mean, you had to actually know something other than how to sharpen a pencil to go to college.
Right. And they didn't have remedial training for when people got to college. These days, they have to teach people how to read and do math and spell and to write a complete sentence.
Math be racist. Just thought I'd put that out there.
English language is racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just on Billy the Goat stream the other day. He's or just a few minutes, not too long ago, earlier today. And he wants me to be basically his Professor Iridium to teach his kid just the basics about astronomy, chemistry, physics, just stuff like that. Because they're not even teaching this stuff to his kid in school in the UK. He wants his daughter to get like a reasonable education from someone who's doesn't have their head up their ass, isn't concerned about my feelings, isn't concerned about gender and race studies. And that kind of stuff, interested in actually teaching math, science, chemistry, the things that you're actually supposed to go to school for. When you go to school, you learn things like math, English, chemistry, French, Spanish. It wasn't about gender studies, and my teachers they didn't have pink hair, they didn't have purple hair.
No.
And they were screened to make sure they weren't freaking mentally ill. If it were even a thought that one of them were mentally ill, that was parents storming the Bastilles kind of thing.
Right. And back when I was going, because you're just 5 years younger than me. When I was going to school, we had one class dealing with sexuality, and that was sex ed.
Yep, that's what we had too. Exactly.
And that was held in 6th grade, the girls went one classroom and the boys went to another.
Now they ask them which one they identify as, so you can go get some pointers.
Yeah, well, sex ed starts in kindergarten these days for these fuckers.
Teach at kindergarten age. The same thing for me.
Yeah, hell, if I'd have known where that G spot was when I was in 6th grade, I never would have disappointed so many women. Hey, Brandon.
Yes.
Shapus is asking for a link into the panel.
Okay.
You don't have it up anymore in your deal.
Oh, okay. Well, I will put the link up.
Sorry, I sound like a bucket of mashed assholes, but I've been laying in bed for 2 days. I'm sick as hell.
Yeah, I got over my pink eye here pretty quickly. I don't really even need to use the drops anymore. But I recovered from that pretty quickly. So, and I'm glad because that was absolutely terrible. But I'm getting hit with a nice cool weather now. It's -6 here with 15-mile-an-hour sustained winds. So,
yeah, I saw that Arctic front coming down through there, and it looked like a big old dong coming out of the Arctic. You're gonna slap you.
Yeah, it's and that big old dong's tearing us a new asshole. But it's supposed to warm up back to the 40s all next week. So can't.
Well, just in time to walk outside and look at that freaking Chinese balloon and wave at it as it goes over your house.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Balloon.
Who is that? Shahithus? Is that how you pronounce it? Shahithus?
Shahithus. Can you hear me okay?
Volume's a little low.
Okay. Really? I will try to speak up.
There you go.
That's good now.
That's good.
I don't have a voice that carries. You know, I got this little punk ass voice that's going on. It's like, hi, how are you? I'm a complete nerd. I can't escape.
Well, what are your thoughts on what the underlying route for normalizing this degenerate behavior? Everywhere you look, you see, one form of degenerate behavior or another being promoted. They all have special laws that make them protected citizens. They have more rights than you do. Why is this coming? Why has this been allowed to happen? I remember when the first hate laws, because it's what?
I think it's been subverted, slowly subverted, as a way to indoctrinate.
Because in the 70s, white people were taught by sitcoms and primetime TV that racism was bad. And over time, the sitcoms twisted it from racism is bad to white people are bad. And it's just now becoming the point where anybody's a protected race except for white people. And, I was a liberal.
It's not just about race.
I was a liberal when I grew up.
Well, no, it's about gender too, and it's sorry to interrupt.
It's the same thing. It's you're a bad person because you grew up in a situation that I didn't grow up in. That's what the bottom line is.
But I mean,
gender, it's sexual orientation. It's, hell, it's your fucking worldview of yourself. I identify as a kitten. Give me a litter box.
I identify as an attack helicopter.
Yeah. Well, I recall like the sex ed class. It was, there were male parts and there were female parts. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, it was not rocket science. I mean, you had an inboard motor and an outboard motor kind of thing.
But you know what? They're trying to say? They're trying to say that there was always that one classroom in your school that was full of people that didn't fit the paradigm. There's boy parts and there's girl parts, except for Steve, who has a penis and a vagina and is in this room over here with the special ed kids.
Well, at some point too, for me, like that's what happened is the exception became normalized. In all these cases,
Now,
all these feminists become the normalization for women. All these strange whatever rainbow people become the norm, and that's slowly been like you said, and the racism thing has been, it's racism is bad, or you know it's it's you have to accept you have to accept you have to accept alternative lifestyles. You accept it, fine, but then it's like, no, now they're actually pushing this stuff, and a lot of this thing I think is financially driven. I remember Jordan Peterson saying that the sex change industry is like a $350 million a year business, projected to double in
they don't
profit.
want you to tell your kids that they shouldn't get a sex change. They want you to not be invested in the situation at all so they can make their money. But what they don't tell you is that they permanently destroy the lives of these people. A transgender person who goes through an operation is changed permanently. They cannot go back. They can't.
Oh, yeah.
They can't even.
And they need
if they try to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And they need lifelong care. It's
Yes, that's the thing.
you got your residuals worked in there. But we're not. The topic tonight is not the individual degeneracies that are out there. The topic tonight is what is behind it all. Why is it?
I think it's a subversive communist agenda of some kind.
Yes.
It's some kind of a subversive.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's a vehicle for the Communist Party of China to destroy our country before they invade us. They're trying to break us apart. And if you want to get to the source of it, it's the Communist Party of China.
Whether it's the communists from China or the former Soviet Union, I'm not sure which it is, but it's a slow subversion
of power. Yes. Yes,
I think they started it,
really,
and then the Chinese continued it.
I think it was like, hey, check out what we did in America, and they said, yeah, this plan is golden. Let's run with it. And so,
and they understood that they couldn't. They understood that they can't attack us directly. They can't attack us directly in open field of battle. They've understood that it's easier to subvert from within, to corrupt from within.
Yeah.
So if you implant ideas like encouraging, transgenderism, encouraging the sexes to fight one another, those are weapons. They're using that as a weapon.
It all. They're encouraging feminist superiority. They're encouraging transgender supremacy. They're encouraging an attack on conservative values as a connection to the Nazis, trying to associate all conservatives with the worst of the rightist of the right wing. It's all part of the plan. It's like a 3 or 4 or 5 step plan.
You can see the steps if you look at the Communist Manifesto. They're going right down the list.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Yuri Bezmenov. Read it. Read Yuri Bezmenov. He talks about it.
You know what?
What they do is they subvert people to liberalism first.
Don't yell over the top of people.
Sorry,
Seamus.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We're having we're having a civilized debate, and everybody gets to have their say. So go ahead, Kush.
So I actually lost my thought, but they started with the liberal. They go slightly to the left with liberalism because they understand that they can't turn them to full communism, because you notice that even today, traditional liberals, even people like Russell Brand, traditional liberals are looking at this extreme woke left and saying, like, what the hell is this? They're saying that because this is all part of what Yuri Bezmenov wrote. It started with liberals. Then the liberals accept the more extreme factions, which are the woke. Then the woke starts to take over, becomes the norm, and then they boot the left out. And then the left, before they know it, they're subjugated to the communists, the woke, who were once the exception. It's a slow, subversive process.
Right. The next thing to know,
Sort of a long march.
The moderate leftists are thrown in with the rightists, and it's the extreme leftists that are gonna. And it's funny because it's an opposite of World War II, where in Germany they were extreme right and they were fucking everything up, and now it's like the opposite. But they have
So Seamus,
the same tactic.
so Seamus, so you're saying that the National Socialist Party of Germany was extreme right? I don't think so.
I'm saying, well, they were both extreme right and extreme left at the same time. It's the weirdest damn thing. Nationalist, socialist, those are opposite ends of a spectrum. I'm sorry.
Well, I think another important thing to note is that Stalin with the Bolsheviks did the same thing. He did
but
very
the
much
Bolsheviks and
thing
Stalin were totally different governments. When you look at it, the Bolsheviks never expected Stalin, and Stalin came in and killed them all, basically.
Yeah, and he surrounded him only with his cronies, who were staunchly behind him. He murdered anybody who got in his way.
That motherfucker.
And that was and that guy killed twice as many people as up to 3 times as many people as the guy with the mustache. After all was said and done,
I submit to you that when you get to a dictator and he has absolute control like Stalin did, you are going beyond any kind of nationalism, socialism, any kind of government like organization. You're going past that. He has complete control and he was just doing whatever he wanted to do. It wasn't a government style. There was no government style there. It was just him in charge.
Well, I'd like to welcome James von Maxwell to the stream.
Hamster.
And
geez, you never do long streams anymore. You're always driving, man. How's it going?
I'm doing great. I brought my truck into the shop today to get it fixed. So
why'd you break it?
But, well, for the last 5 days, I haven't had any heat in here, so it sort of sucked. But tonight's topic is what is behind the normalization of all of this, degenerate behavior that's being pushed down everybody's throats. What's behind
normalized kitty corn. That's it.
You think so?
Yep. Absolutely. Did you watch the Eliza Blue video?
Yeah, I did.
I think there's so much else going on, though. There are so many ways that they're coming at us.
I know. That's the whole idea, sir. Yeah. They come in from every angle, so it's overwhelming. You don't even know where to go. You go one place and they come in somewhere else, I think. But anyway, I'll just listen. Go ahead.
No, Hamster, I have a question for you. The kitty corn part of it, when exactly do you think that started happening?
About 2015.
Okay.
I have videos where I predicted that.
I think 2015 is when it really ramped up to an exponential level. I agree. Exponentially. Oh, yeah. But I think it had been slowly been working its way in gradually up until that point. And like you said, Hamster, but from other angles. But
I think it started with the French intellectuals of the 1970s.
You mean the 17-somethings? You mean, or
no, the 1970s? There was a
David,
so somebody
David
can
Smith
help me out here
admits
with it.
the natural process. Just look at what happened to Rome. Hedonism follows unlimited freedom. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's been a while, but this whole thing, because people were saying the same thing, and I'm sure Cush, you were there. Brandon, maybe Mouth was there. It's a slippery slope. That was the argument. Oh, you guys are crazy. You just don't want to give rights to these people, whatever. And so it started out with, okay, you want to be gay. That's fine. Good. Oh, no, we need this because of what if there's a gay partnership and they can't get in the hotel or the hospital? Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, civil unions, we've got to have that too because now marriage in a Catholic church. And if you don't, you're homophobic, right? It is a god dang slippery slope. And so this slippery slope shit started happening a long time ago with the kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
The
they made their plans for this. Shathis, please don't talk over the top of me.
I'm sorry.
It started. That part of the slippery slope started after Stonewall, and
yeah.
They're even singing about it these days. They feel so untouchable. But I think, go ahead.
Johnny Midnight says the French New Wave intellectuals started in the 50s. Is that what you were talking about?
Yes, it is, and they were. They and the Germans were really into this kiddie porn and minor attracted person thing.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's
Johnny
McKinsey,
for the
it's
save.
McKinsey too, right? McKinsey was in there doing all this crazy shit.
Yep, McKinsey was in there,
and Freud was in there talking about similar things. Not exactly, but somewhat.
Yeah.
But he was more like mental gymnastics, whereas McKinsey was actually, a behaviorist and doing experiments and right.
He was an evil son of a bitch. And this whole trans thing is this John Money guy with the kid. I'm sure you probably heard the story, right?
Go enlighten us.
Okay.
Yeah,
what happened was there was, you guys have heard it? Okay.
I have not.
Long story, really short. There was twin boys were born. And for some reason during the circumcision, they accidentally cut the one kid's penis off, right? Just cut it off. And so they talked to this money guy and he said, raise him as a girl, right? And so they tried to raise him as a girl, and it was almost impossible for this kid to be raised as a girl. He knew he wasn't a girl, right? And eventually it got around to his parents, yes, this is what happened. You're not, your name is David or whatever, right? And so eventually both him and his brother self-deleted for different reasons, but Money made up all his bullshit that everything was going to go great and everything was wonderful with this kid and everything was great, and it wasn't. It was all lies. That's what all of this stuff is based on today. This experiment with these twin kids. So it's scary stuff. And that was back in the 60s or 70s. Canadian kids. Yeah.
That's awful.
Yep.
Well, there's socialized healthcare for you.
Well, I don't know if they had it back then, but no, I get your point. Yeah.
Go ahead, Shathis.
I was just gonna say, now in Canada they'll just delete you. It doesn't matter, That's all I had.
Yeah, you don't need that broken leg fixed. Here, take a pill. God, it's terrible.
Hey, that guy has a nice liver.
Yeah, we
You're
couldn't
an
get
organ
one out of
donor,
the
right?
We couldn't get that one out of the Chinese prisoners, so we're gonna have to. No, there's no hope for you, man. Here, take a pill. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, grumpy old man's here
kidneys
sending.
and liver.
Yeah, grumpy old man.
Hey, Grumpy, can you kill? Yeah, Grumpy, can you kill your video stream? My bandwidth is very low tonight.
No worries.
We won't
Thank
see
you.
anyway.
So tonight's topic, Grumpy, is what is behind the normalization of the degeneracy, not the actual individual instances of degeneracy itself. What's behind it? What's your opinion, sir?
Okay, now I've sent you 3 links. The top
I'm not
one,
looking at your links. You've got to just talk on your own merits, sir.
Okay, I'm talking on my own merits. Later
Okay,
on, when
gentlemen,
you've
I
got
am
some
going to drop
time,
out.
later
All
on
right,
when you've
bye-bye.
got some time, have a look at that link. The first one is plain simple English 45 list bullet points. Now, the next one is a book called The Naked Communist that was written by an FBI agent who was working for McCarthyism's Senate Committee on Un-American Activities back in the 50s. So that book, The Naked Communist, is where the list comes from. And you could even go to the Congress, because that list, 45 bullet points, is still today in the library in the Congress published.
That isn't
It's
true.
also in PDF, other places online. Now, the third one is called School of Darkness. Now, that lady is Italian Catholic, name of Bella Dodd, well before World War II, way back in the 1920s, acting on behalf of Stalin. She got into the teachers' union, gave up on the Catholic Church, became a communist, no longer but then after World War II was one of the witnesses who came forward to McCarthy's committee and threw her hands up and said, I did it. Here's the evidence. Here's the proof. And then she, like Bezmenov, spent the rest of her life traveling around the countryside, delivering speeches about how she was an agent of influence funded by the USSR and spreading communism into the American education system. And from there, because you have to have an education to get a job, it covered everything. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in, even if you want to be a truck driver, now the tech college that you go to, the academics that would be teaching you in the tech college to be a truck driver or a car mechanic is a good communist, even today. Thank you. Done.
Okay, so it's all you're blaming this all on a communist plot.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, there's one more thing I'll throw at you. What the commies said at the time was, backed by Hollywood, they all screamed and ranted and carried on. McCarthy was a Nazi. This is all horrible. 100% Chinese
McCarthy.
Communist Party cow shit. Okay? 100% of the people named and shamed by McCarthy either admitted it later on or got busted by the FBI for real.
Oh, the communists have infiltrated our government for 100 years, at least.
Oh yeah, at
You know,
least.
they were. I mean, FDR was the commies were thick in his administration. It wasn't even funny.
Oh, look at the movie Annie, or not the movie, but the play Annie. You know, they talk about the Bolsheviks going after Big Daddy Warbucks because he proves that capitalism works.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah, so-
guys. Absolutely. And if you do your research, you'll find exactly the same factions of people doing exactly the same stuff in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. All of the modern Western first world democracies have been infiltrated. It's the same in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. Taiwan is a good country. They're generally trying to do the right thing, but they are just deluged by mainland communist spies trying to get in there. Now, their version of the CIA or the Mossad is fairly good. And as far as a modern Western country goes, I would say they're probably doing a better job of finding the Chinese spies from the mainland and getting rid of them than either Australia or America are doing.
Oh, America's doing a terrible job. He's talking about Taiwan.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because America
sorry,
is over here going, communism is the perfectly legitimate fucking political stance. So the communists are welcome here. That's what they've been doing for the last 30 years.
Absolutely correct. Now, you may remember these people talking about years ago and even now about the 5 Eyes. You heard of the 5 Eyes?
Yep.
Anybody heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the Five Eyes are the spy agencies of Australia, America, New Zealand, Canada, and Britain. Those 5 spy agencies, they're all good friends. They're all decent, honest. They haven't been infiltrated by the KGB or the Chinese spies. Everything is fine. No worries. That's the deep state working.
Or they have.
So the deep state that you've heard about is really plain and simple. There's nothing complicated about it. Every single person who's working in the public sector has a view. They're either left wing or right wing. So people who are centre right to right wing will genuinely attempt to do a good job and do the right thing because they're an honest person. Whereas the people on the left will lie, and do the wrong thing for the good of the party. That's all it is. Nothing complicated, nothing difficult. It's common sense.
I have to say, for the first half of my life, I was a liberal, and I bought into every lie they told. Now, what that means is there's a large chunk of the population that's just like me. They bought into it. They're actually believing this lie. It's not so much that the whole Democrat Party is a bunch of liars. It's led by a bunch of liars, and all the followers are just too damn naive to not know the difference.
Correct.
I don't know.
100% correct, mate. Now, I was similar. I was raised in what you guys would call a Republican family. MAGA Republicans, Freedom Republicans, Libertarian Republicans, real conservatives, not rhinos. But I saw all of this corruption, and I got fooled by the people on the left, and I got involved, because I was such a naive, idealistic fool, in a political party that was genuinely attempting to be a down the middle of the road, deal with both sides and genuinely attempt to do the right thing. And it just fell to bits because it was infiltrated and wide-ended from within, just like everything else. It was taken over by the Chinese Communist Party of Australia, wide-ended from within and destroyed. So since then, I've come back to being a Australian version of a Tea Party, Trump-supporting MAGA Republican, but also red-pilled. And I've studied all of this stuff for decades. I've got a million other links like that I could put to you, but those 3 links I put there in the chat on the side. Later on, when you've got the time, just check it out for yourselves and go down the rabbit hole a bit further and see some more of the things that I've seen.
Well, I've spent a great deal of time in Eastern Europe, and I've traveled to both China and Taiwan, both. And those 2 cultures are very traditional and sexually conservative. And it I don't know. It doesn't make any sense that they would be promoting this this outright debauchery unless there was an internal to the West group of people that were pushing it, that portion of it.
Yeah,
I think that they probably are associated with what's the Bezmenov plot, but I think it's more. I think that it benefits somebody here somehow by having us all balkanized, where it's everybody against everybody else. It's sort of like the old divide and conquer thing, where we're no longer a unified people, and that way they can sell us more shaving cream or something. I don't get it. I can't see behind the curtain on this one. It doesn't seem to me like there's going to be one answer. There's not one ring to bind them all. It's very diverse
You're
and it's
absolutely
very
right.
sinister, and I don't fucking get it.
Can you see a short line I put into the chat on the right-hand side?
No,
It
I,
says,
I'm.
In the
this.
StreamYard?
Eastern Europe, yes, StreamYard, right-hand side comments section, same with the links. Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union, from the time Stalin took over, right through to right now, including Putin, was 100% socially conservative because they knew that being socially liberal was cultural and social cancer. So they stayed socially conservative, but then the communist parties in the West pushed socially liberal like drugs onto our children. So they wanted to weaken the West and strengthen the East. That explains it.
But it's more than that. It's not just the Chinese Communist Party trying to destroy our country. It's like 49% of our population that buys into that bullshit. And there's all these different isms and ists out there that they're trying to fight and champion, and they all fall into the same pile of people. And I'm done.
That one is completely correct, but it is still Chinese communism because that's who's behind it. All of this started with the Russians and the Soviet Union, but around about the mid-50s to mid-60s, even hard people on the left in America or Australia knew that the Soviet Union economically was rotten to the core and inefficient and guaranteed to fail. They knew that their society was reasonably strong because they were socially conservative. So all the way through the Cold War, the KGB ruthlessly crushed feminism, ruthlessly crushed rainbow alphabet soup, gay marriage, all of this stuff. You went to the Gulag. But the official Russian Communist Party of America was pushing this stuff and teaching this stuff through their local branch in Hollywood like drugs onto your children. That's happened
Exactly,
everywhere.
SCE.
Yeah. Now, that simply continued on. So they knew that the Soviet Union would sooner or later fall to bits, as it did in the late 80s and the early 90s. So as far back as the late 60s and the early 70s, starting most especially of all with Comrade Gough Whitlam, who became Prime Minister of Australia in 1972. Henry Kissinger, who was one of the senior leaders of the Communist Party of America, he arranged for...
Secretary of State.
Yeah, that's the one. He was Secretary of State and very much into the foreign affairs, what we would call our Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So he arranged for a coalition of the willing, and a leader of that, the first one, was Australia's Prime Minister, Comrade Gough Whitlam. Now, he was a Marxist and a Trotskyist all of his life, and he knew without a shadow of doubt that the Soviet Union was falling to bits, but the Chinese are more inscrutable. They have more morals, ethics, and fiber, internal fortitude than we Westerners. So these Northeast Asians who are like that would have a better chance of actually doing communism properly and making it work. So Kissinger arranged this coalition of the willing, where Gough Whitlam would be the first world leader as Prime Minister of Australia to officially travel to Beijing, announce that we would officially recognize the mainland Chinese government and officially unrecognize Taiwan. So at that point, Taiwan ceased to exist, even though they had 5 times as much military as we did, and we recognized mainland China.
And the United States simultaneously recognized Taiwan. So there was something going on where they were saying, hey, you guys over here in Australia, you guys support the Chinese. We are going to support Taiwan.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
United States and Australia, as far as I go back to the 80s,
Yep.
Australia and America have always been the closest of allies.
Yeet, why don't
Absolutely.
you get on and give us a preview?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Hamster, do you got anything to add to this?
Well, of course I do.
Well,
Of course I do. First of all, the 45 communist goals are not in the congressional record, old man. I looked; they're not in there. So,
well, they've been removed since then by the deep state. If
Well,
you
I don't
can
know,
get to
but
that link, you
they're
can
not in
see
there.
it there,
oh, I've read them. I know.
and you can
What's
get
it
that
called?
book, The Naked Communist.
I have the book, The Naked Communist.
Same here. I have the hard copy on my shelf. If I could ever meet that guy, but he's dead now, I would have had it signed.
He's a Mormon. Do you know that?
Correct. Their
Cleon
church
Skousen.
is
Yep.
a little bit off on some things, but at least they're socially conservative and they're right on some things.
So we're talking
What'd you
about
say
why
his
the
name is?
communists are doing this to our country with this stuff. Is that what we're?
Yes.
Well, these the theory that's being put out is that communism is the root cause of the normalization of the of the degeneracy we see around it. That's the point that's being put forward right now.
Well, I think it's part of it. Yeah. But I mean, the communists, they don't care what trouble they're causing. If they had a campaign to ban Pepsi Cola because it's racist, they would do that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They just want to cause trouble. That's all that matters.
I'm with Hamster.
So.
There's more going on than just the Chinese Communist Party. That's what I was getting at.
Well, of course there is. Yeah. I don't disagree.
What I would throw in is there's sort of more to it than the Chinese Communist Party. But what all of these people are hoping is this: America will be strategically weakened. America will lose the Cold War and lose World War III. And World War III will be won either by the United Nations, and if we can't win it with the United Nations, then we'll make sure that Communist China wins World War III, and then under the theory and the principles and the morals and ethics of international socialism, 100% of the planet will be colonized by the Chinese Communist Party, the Communist China, and these international guys who will, having used China as an ally, make sure that they do everything properly. And along the way in the process, if that means that 6 or 7 billion of us end up dead, they'll be fine after they come out of the bunkers and take everything over. Back to you now, Brandon and Hamster.
Well, Hamster, go for it.
Well, I mean, all this shit started with the New School and before that, but the New School is a big part of it. If you want to know how these people act, look up the Hungarian Revolution, 1919, 1920. This is the same kind of shit they did. Yes. This is the same kind of shit they did with Gregory Lukács. He was appointed.
Pulling out the history buff.
Oh, yeah, baby. It was Bela Kun was the prime minister or the leader, and this guy was like the minister of something. And he reformed all the schools
for 10 years. And
yeah, so you know all about it.
Away. No, I'm just saying, you're telling me some shit I ain't heard.
Oh, really?
So
well, the problem is
y'all listen to Hamster, goddamn.
Well, part of it is you can't find it online that easily. It's buried. It's usually in some socialist backwater somewhere on
yeah. Try looking up history on Poland.
Yeah, it's well hidden. It's there somewhere. But basically, what this Grigor Lukács went in, he changed he made the sexual education mandatory. He did all kinds of crazy shit in the schools, right? Same kind of crap we're doing today because he knew that's how you would get degenerate, right?
Right.
Now, but the problem is the Hungarian Soviet lasted 100 days. And then the Hungarian people said, get the hell out of here. Right. So it was the only other country outside of the Soviet Union that actually had a Soviet revolution, Hungary. But it was only for 100 days, and they went back to other stuff. So
I bow to your superior historical knowledge.
and of course, this Bela Kun dude, who was in charge of Hungary for 100 days, fled to Russia, as they do. And of course, he was taken out by Stalin in 1936, because that's the way it works with those people.
Never mind that Poland and Russia have been enemies since the beginning of time.
Essentially, yeah, that's true.
And then Russia came back into Hungary.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when my old man got out, right? 1956.
Yeah.
When they had my father.
I understand that was what that means. I'm just asking, really? Tell me more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was born in Hungary. And he lived through the Nazi occupation during World War II. He would have been like single digit age.
Yeah.
And so he got to be a young man. And in 1956, when the when the communists came in from Russia with all the tanks, started killing everybody, he said, enough of this shit. And he escaped through Austria. So there was like a refugee sort of smuggling deal where they got him into Austria. And then once you're in Austria, then apparently there were, the US and probably Germany or whatever had all these programs to get refugees sent around the world. And so he came here to the US.
Get
Lucky
me
for
out
me.
of here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting story because
you ended up in America.
yeah. Or else I would have been Australian. Apparently that was his other option, is to go to Australia. So he picked the US. But it was, cloak and dagger shit. It was all, you can imagine they had a bunch of these people middle of the night, dead of the night, right? Cold. And they had them all hidden in a hay wagon, right? So they had a wagon full of hay. They had all the people underneath the hay.
Damn.
And the Hungarians were not necessarily interested in keeping people in either. So they got out. And
the Nazis had a tendency to stab all their hay. They got lucky.
Well, again, if it would have been Russian guards, that probably, but would have had the problem. But I mean, the Hungarian guys, they were like, we don't like this either, but we're forced to do this shit.
Right.
So yeah, so he got out. 1956, came here. So yeah, but yeah, he actually the Allies bombed his village in the 40s, and he got hit by shrapnel. So he was bombed by the Allies. Yeah, no kidding.
Damn. That's a hell of a story.
Well, the interesting thing is when my father, he's still alive, but his brain's getting pretty bad. But we'd have conversations. He'd be, why do these people want to get communism here? Don't they understand? And it's
no, they don't.
They don't.
I have literally had a friend of mine tell me to my face, we don't have any receipts on what socialism can do.
Oh,
and I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yep. Oh, I mean, it's the same thing. Why Florida is generally going red is because you got a lot of Cubans in Miami-Dade.
Yep.
That are actual Cubans that lived through. And they know what this shit goes to. And they're like, no way, we're not going for that.
That's why Biden's administration turned back that boat full of people, because he didn't need any more people in Florida that would vote Republican.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of plates spinning here, but yeah. Well, I mean, that came with was it Bill Clinton who did that? Remember that young kid that they with the guns, the famous one? Elian Gonzalez sent him back to Cuba.
Elia, some shit like that. Yeah.
And I think it was Obama it was Clinton, yeah. And then Obama stopped the wet foot, dry foot shit. So anybody who comes here from Cuba, they don't get to stay anymore. They get sent back.
But anybody from Mexico is fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So all the Guatemalans are okay, but the Cubans that are escaping communism are not. What the hell happened in the last 50 years? We've switched paradigms.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, you don't want communist people coming here because they would never vote for this shit when they become citizens. That was like, we've been there. We don't want this. It was
Right.
tried. It turned out exactly how it was supposed to, and it sucks. We don't want it. So
And the people from South America are like, we'll vote for whatever the fuck you want as long as you let us in the country, because
basically,
those people are fucking Satanists over there.
so yeah, it's pretty crazy. But the bottom line, whoever it is, communist, socialism, the world leadership or whatever the hell is going on, all they care about is trouble. So it doesn't matter what's going on; they just want to cause trouble. Anything that we would consider normal or tradition, cultural, they want to destroy.
Yeah.
Because that
Hello,
makes
guys.
everybody going crazy. We don't know what to do, right? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Grumpy.
Okay, now Hamster, check this out. During the Cold War, my very own Uncle Bob was a pommy bastard with the MI6. During the Cold War, he was in Hungary, behind the Soviet Union, behind the Iron Curtain. He was in Hungary.
No kidding. Wow.
Now, in 1956, when your dad was getting out, there were other people who got out, and they came to Australia, and I grew up with them. They were best mates with my mum and dad. We regularly went out on a Saturday night, and instead of having roast lamb or shrimps on the barbie, we had Hungarian goulash.
Oh yeah. Yep. And if my old man is indicative of anything, the Hungarians really like to drink.
Man,
Oh, God damn.
I have
God
to-
damn.
I need to
I'll
point.
give you another one, Hamster. You were talking about how that 45 bullet point list is no longer in the Congress, and you can't find a lot of this stuff online. Now, there's some more links I put on the right-hand side of StreamYard. There's a YouTube channel called Felix Rex and another one called Black Pigeon Speaks. And on both of those, these guys are on multiple platforms like, MGTOW TV and all of this alternative stuff. And they've got search engines and links to places where a lot of this stuff has been archived, and you can find it now today. Go back to you, Hamster and Brandon.
Yeah. I'll go look it up. But because I was curious about the 45 things in the congressional record, and I went and looked at the exact date in the congressional. We can look it up here. You can actually look up the congressional record, and it wasn't in there. So if maybe they took it out, I don't know. But
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's the same here in Australia, and it's the same, generally speaking, all over the internet. You do a normal internet search using Google Chrome, using Yahoo, and all kinds of stuff that would come up on a search 20 years ago now doesn't come up. And you can start to search through the first page and it's not there, and the second page and it's not there. And this guy, Felix Rex, Black Pigeon Speech, is the same bloke with two different channels. And he does a really good video where he goes through exactly that process. And he explains, I did a search and I couldn't find this and I couldn't find that. And eventually on page 10, we found that there still wasn't anything. It's just not there. So that's why he's got all of this alternative media stuff and archives, and he would recommend that you go to some of these other search engines that are not censoring everything, and you can still find stuff online in hidden corners. Back to you guys.
Are we reaching a time where I could teach high school history and everything I teach the kids they've never heard before?
Correct. 100% correct. None of us have heard the truth for a long, long time. It's only this red pill stuff like the ginger hamster has been through and I've been through, where you hit the wall when you get divorced, and after you shake up and you wake up and you think, what was that? How did that happen? And you start to check things out and you end up going down the rabbit hole. You end up going down into the cage where the hamster's spinning away on the wheel. And you find out all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff. And then you find some more and some more and some more. And eventually you get to a point where somewhere on the wall, all of the pieces of the puzzle are in place and you can see the big picture. instead of little bits of the small picture, and the rest of it's hidden and you can't see it all. Back to you, Hamster.
Oh, it's not my show. It's Brandon's show.
Well, I'm in the Library of Congress.gov
Oh, you're trying to
right
find it?
now.
I was
Yeah.
I was gonna run a bunch of shit about my background, but I lost my train of thought, and I was gonna
Well,
tie in
let's
with
keep
what
it on
Brandon
topic
just
and
said. Yes, let's go back to the topic. What's the topic?
Yeah.
Hey, can I do one thing for a moment? I don't have anything to drink, so
as long as
I'll
it's
shut
on
up for a minute
topic.
and leave it back to you guys, Brandon and Hamster, etc. And
Get you a
I'll make myself a nice cup of tea, or I'll get a brewski out of the fridge. And
Get a
I'm
brewski.
looking for recommendations on whether I should have a cold brewski or a nice cup of tea.
Cold brewski.
Well,
Breakfast beer.
Brewski, of course.
No, why not? What time is it? 17
I'm sure.
hours, right? So it's like what, 1500? So that's good enough for a beer, isn't it?
While
It's-
he's going
1,300 hours or 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
beer.
13,
And it's
okay.
been hot as Hades, like 90 degrees Fahrenheit or more, and 80 or
Hey.
90% humidity as well all day, and it's just started to cool down a bit.
2 beers.
Yes,
Done.
2 ice cold beers. Yes.
Done. I'll even hold the empties up in front of the camera if you want to have a look at it and see what I got. Be
No,
back in a
it's all
minute, guys.
Nope.
Chat amongst yourselves.
Hamster.
So how come you got Sniffy Biden up there, Brandon? What's the deal?
Hamster.
Oh, well, I think he sort of personifies this whole thing.
I'd say. Yes. Somebody's calling out for the hamster.
Hamster. It's
Yeah.
Japhis.
Yes.
I got onto your stream about 2 weeks ago,
Oh no.
and I was so drunk I could not put 2 sentences together.
Oh, was that you? I think I remember you. Yeah, I
that was
remember
me. Yeah, of course
Yep.
you remember me. I was the one that lost his capacity to speak while he was talking to the people that was on your panel, and you were like, "Okay, less sauce for you," and you deleted me. You kicked me
I
off.
didn't delete you. I just
And I was like, "Oh, thank God! I'm so glad he kicked me off before I said anything really embarrassing."
yeah. We had Jimmy Bones one night on Pops. Were you there, Brandon, for that? That was a long time ago.
Maybe, I don't remember.
Well, he had Jimmy Bones, and I think he was actually on the stream, and he was pounding, and it took about an hour. He couldn't even talk. It was pretty funny.
Dude, I
Yeah.
was on your stream for less than 3 minutes, and I tried to engage the people on your panel, and you just like, "Okay, dude, you gotta go." And I was like, "Oh my God, I've embarrassed myself so badly."
Well, like I said, though, the Jimmy Bones thing, I'm sure we could find it somewhere, but because they were doing, it was Pop and Blake, and this guy was on there, and they were doing shots, and it was less than an hour. This guy was incoherent. he was pounded.
I was incoherent in the next 35 seconds. It was like, get the fuck off this motherfucker. And I have felt so bad since then, and I've been wanting to apologize to you.
Just don't worry about it. No, that's the way it happens. You do these streams, but
He's
what's
red
worse is
pilled.
when the host gets annihilated, and then because I was on with I think it was Greg Adams or some shit, and I was just fucking blitzed. I couldn't even talk. It was terrible.
Oh my God.
I mean, he was on my channel. This was years ago. It's like, oh boy,
Oh,
a little bit too much pregame going on there. I got cold water tonight though, so I'm in good shape.
You know,
hey, guys, I'm back.
hey,
I've even got a brewski
Excellent.
sitting in
You
the
have-
stubby holder that's
You have a
attached
second
to
one?
the side of the comfy chair. Now, the ginger hamster has heard about the comfy chair before, and he's seen the brewski that I've got before, because it's the only one of the big beer companies like Miller's, or any of your big brands that is still locally owned. It's called Cooper's. But if you don't mind, if I flick on the camera for a minute, I've got an empty tinny here.
Do it.
I can show you, and that's what I had yesterday. But the other real big problem I've got is after I've been drinking a bit, I just can't anymore do a really good burp the way the ginger hamster does. I sort of burp, but I can't get the tone right and really get it nice and loud. So hold on a minute. I'll flick on the camera again if you don't mind, and I'll see if you can see that.
There it is. Yep.
Well, hold still.
Now that's
It says something about ale.
Island Ale.
It's
It's
got
a
ginger in it. Yeah. There you go.
lemon and ginger.
Ginger. Yeah, pull it back a little bit and center it. There you go.
There you go. There you
Island Ale, lemon, and ginger. Perfect.
Looks delicious.
And that's from one of these medium-sized boutique places called Botany Brew down near a place called Botany Bay. Now I'll
Botany
flick
Bay.
Yeah, Botany Bay. And now I'll flick the camera off again so we're not chewing up too much of the broadband.
Sure.
This is
Bay.
SETI
right.
Alpha. Name that. Botany Bay, right? This
In
is
case
SETI Alpha
anybody
6.
was wondering, Botany Bay is the ship
No, this is SETI Alpha 5.
Con Noonigan Singh was on and
Exactly.
got marooned on SETI Alpha 5.
That's right. On the Botany Bay. Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it, Brandon. You ruined my story.
Start
I
with
think
two.
everybody
Wrath of
knows
Khan.
that story.
Oh, that's the best.
yeah.
That's the best one, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I've got another one for you. This is for all of you.
SETI Alpha 5.
But most especially, this one is a shout out to the Ginger Hamster. If you guys ever come to this area, we've got one of these little boutique breweries in the industrial estate out the back, not far away. And it's a small, furry little animal, a little bit bigger than a hamster. And
Chupacabra.
it's a native Australian animal, cute and furry.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's called
Wallaby.
a wombat. A wombat.
Oh.
You can check that out. A wombat, not a hamster
Wombat.
or a rabbit. And the brewery is called the Horny Wombat Brewery. So they've done a really good cartoon of him, like the hamster does with his videos, where the wombat has got horns coming out of his head like a deer would. Horny Wombat Brewery. Back to you guys.
So basically a jackalope.
Well, back on topic. Now that we've got mythical rodents selling alcohol, I think that we have come to some type of a conclusion here that we're going to blame it all on the commies who are doing it or at least started this process, and then it's taken on a life of its own.
Correct. Correct. Now, some of you have been saying, and I'm sure the Ginger Hamster would back me up on this, it goes back a long way to places like Hungary and Hamburg, where they had the school, or the Frankfurt School. Sorry, the Frankfurt School.
Yep.
I'll be
Yep.
right back.
Now, other people have talked about the 1%, and they've talked about Wall Street and the City of London and these sort of shady groups like the Illuminati. I'll
Don't
give
forget
you
the
an idea.
Bilderbergs and the Skull and Bones and all those guys. And
Right,
they're part of
right.
it. They're part of it,
Okay. Now, let me
And
give you an
Now,
example.
I was
of
in the
this.
middle of a thought, so I'm going to... I can't do anything. My phone's acting up. So I'd like to ask you to not interrupt while I'm talking.
Cool.
And I appreciate that. Sometimes it takes me a little while to, I'm not as good as Hamster or you about presenting my thoughts coherently in a short process, in a short amount of time. So we have a process that's been subjected onto our culture that origins were external, but it's taken on a distinctly American flavor and is a self-perpetuating monster at this point. And
100% correct. Keep going.
you know, it doesn't. From sitting here in a truck stop in the, on the southern end of Texas, it doesn't look to me like there's anything we can do to stop it. We're far, we're out financed, and I don't believe that anything can stop this until we actually collapse as a society. At which point in time, the social inertia will cause these unproductive members of society, and they are unproductive. They're absolute leeches on our resources to no longer be fundable because there'll be no money to put into these special programs. There might be a rebellion by people who are feeling oppressed, but I don't think so. I think that this country has lost its moral fortitude to stand up for its own rights. If they'd have tried this stuff in the 1970s, to the extent that it's being played out now, yes, we would have had blood in the streets. But at this day and age, I don't believe that the younger generation has the moral fortitude, because it'll be the young men who do the fighting. It's always the young men who do the fighting. And our current crop of young men don't see anything worth fighting for, and I don't blame them one bit. Society hates them. They get constantly bombarded with how awful it is to be a straight male, regardless of their race. Lots of them have had the poison and drank the Kool-Aid, and kind of actually support the degeneracy.
Completely correct.
So, we're well armed, but nobody has got the balls to do anything about it. That's my point.
Okay. Would you like me to give you a quick response?
You may. I have said my piece.
Okay. Now, I've already mentioned this to you before, but I personally believe that TFM is correct. If we can find a no-go zone somewhere and we can move there, but it would have to be a coordinated thing. So we would have to find like-minded people like yourself in America, and then you would have to move to Australia. And then if you move into a no-go zone with like-minded Australians, we might have some hope. Alternatively, the like-minded Australians would have to move to America, and then we would have to find a local government that's run by somebody like Ron DeSantis, inside a state that is run by somebody like Ron DeSantis, and then we'll have a safe space and a no-go zone there. Alternatively,
well, I think at this point in time that's a pipe dream. We're going to have to go to some place that's still based, like the Philippines or Poland. Someplace that still respects a strong moral code. A place that does not allow for the horrible things that the West does, like abortion and no fault divorce, and they may have given the women the right to vote, but they don't let them run things because they know that the foolishness can only be supported if you have more than half the population saying, yes, that's a great idea. Let's all band together and do stuff that's stupid.
You have to have a bunch of men saying,
okay,
hey, women need to ride the boat.
Yeah.
Okay,
so anyways, welcome to the stream, Scotty.
G'day,
Scotty, my bandwidth is horrible tonight, so if you could turn off your camera, even though you are the most beautiful man in the room.
Wow. Oh, but he might give us some cake foot tonight. You never know.
What is that?
He's one of those guys.
What a sexy man. Holy
I gotta
shit!
change
All right,
it.
Scotty, tonight's topic is
Mhm.
who's pushing the degeneracy that we're seeing all around us? What's
Media for sure.
Yep.
Media. What's the social media? All of it, man. All of it, really. It's all this gynocentric push, whammon. No, I won't put up with it. That's all. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, there we have it.
Oh my god!
Hey, Scotty, sorry for stepping on your dick. I didn't realize you were going to stream tonight.
No, it's
Scotty,
all
you got
good.
such beautiful hair.
What about it?
Your hair, it's
Wait.
just so luscious.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I don't think I've met what is it, Shaithis? And Shaithis, and I'm a grumpy old man. I don't think I've met either of these
Grumpy
fine
old
gentlemen.
man is fucking brilliant.
Oh, okay. Okay.
May I speak about the hair? Once upon a time, long ago and far away, I used to have a head of hair very similar to the look that you had on Mel Gibson in Braveheart,
Sure.
because I was a hippie in the 70s and I had shoulder-length hair. Right now, this minute, I could still do that if I grew it out. It'd just have a lot more gray in it.
Yeah,
Okay?
I've got gray coming in for sure. A lot of it.
But because I'm a really lazy bastard, I like to live a nice, plain, simple, easy life, as uncomplicated as possible. I do a classic military style, the Marines buzz cut. So it's the same length crew cut all over.
Gotcha.
Nice and short.
He's bald as fuck. Just
Now,
like
the other thing I can tell you about the hair is it never goes away. So if you're one of these guys with the male pattern baldness and the hairline's going backwards, or you've got that bald patch around the back, it does not go away. What happens is it grows inwards, and then it comes out again through your nose, through your ears, and out your bum hole.
and on your back.
All right. And
Yeah.
mentioned
Well,
That's
Look who
it.
it
And the
is.
other one that will happen to you, if you really want to know when you're getting old, is when you get your first gray pube.
Ike, you got to turn off your video, man. We didn't got the bandwidth for it. But awesome. I'm glad I got to see your face.
Look at that. Because we're both logged into the same thing. There
they're
you go.
twins.
Hey,
Okay.
Scotty,
I can. What's up?
is that your
Hey.
real name?
It is Scott. My first name is Scott. Yes.
My first name is Scott too.
Nice.
Oh my
Scott,
God,
I
that's my
know.
first. That's my first name too.
Oh, shut up, Ike.
Only cool people are named Scott.
My real name's Scott too. So I mean,
Shut up!
I'm Spartacus.
Answer.
That is an incredible coincidence. My name is Scott too.
Holy shit!
Bastard.
We have a whole panel of amazing people.
It's a Scott squad.
Hold on. I gotta change my name now. Hold on.
Grumpy old man, you got to change your name to
God.
Scott.
Jesus.
Well,
Wait.
can I tell you a true story?
Absolutely.
No, tell us lies.
Seriously, Scott.
My name is not Scott, and it's not a middle name.
Is
But
it gross?
one a mate of mine had that as a first name or a middle name. It's one of the family names. So one of my grandparents or aunties or uncles, they've got Scott, either as a middle name or a family name, because they were proud of it and they carried it down over several generations.
Grumpy, have you heard the Monty Python, the Bruces?
Oh God, that's good.
Oh, God,
I
yeah,
have
mate.
not.
That's me. You're talking to him. I'm
Michael
one of the
Baldwin,
four guys who
Bruce.
was in the video.
Michael Baldwin, Bruce. Michael Baldwin, Bruce. Is your name
This whole
not
thing-
Bruce? No,
This
it's
whole thing
Michael.
goes a level deeper. I'm named Scott, but I'm also Scottish.
Shut up. Holy
Hey,
shit.
now, same here.
I was
I've
in the
got
middle
two-
of my skit.
I've got
Mile
two
High
English.
Ronin is also named Scott.
I got Seriously Scott and Scotty on my picture. Which one's which?
And Dr. Ginger Scotty right over there. With the
Holy
with the
shit,
fucking
he changed his name.
with the fucking aviators that I'm wearing right now. I'm gonna start my cam just for a second. See, I'm wearing them. Right
Holy
there.
shit! Look at that hair. That is beautiful hair.
Thank you. Thank
Oh
you.
my
And I'm
Appreciate
Scotty
it.
Trueblood.
Yep.
Scotty
Yep.
You're
Trueblood.
gonna change your name too?
Everybody's gonna change their name to Scott now.
Oh my god.
I can't. I actually have to reload the app. There's something going on with my app. I can't go to. I can't
Oh, that's
go to solo layout, and if my pop outs don't or my pop ups don't stay up, so I'm having pop up dysfunction. I
Well,
need to take a look.
You know
What I'd like
Well,
to do right now
there's pills for
is
that.
sign off and love you and leave you and maybe come back later on, or come back with a hamster or somebody later on, because I've got to duck down the beach and there's some waitresses at a cafe and I didn't really want to have a look at them before I go home tonight.
Yeah, I got some people I need to go meet up, so I gotta dip out too, my friends.
Hamster
All right.
changed his picture.
Thank
Well,
you guys. It's been fantastic.
Oh
Have
my
a great
God.
time. And
All right,
send me
old man.
another link. I'll be back later on.
All right,
Bye-bye.
old man.
All right,
Take care.
Grumpy.
All right.
Later.
See you. See you later.
Bye
Fucking
bye
hamster.
bye.
Hamster,
Anyways,
change your name to Dr. Ginger Scotty.
Oh, everyone loves
well,
it.
anyways, we are
Picture of
shade we are over an hour, and I was only going to do this for about an hour because I've got to get up tomorrow morning and drive early.
Okay, man.
So I think we have pretty much beaten this topic to death.
we beat a lot of
And-
people to death.
And I appreciate each and everybody who has attended tonight, and especially the gentlemen who have been on the panel. So if there's anybody else who wants to get on and have their say real quick before we shut her down, please step forward or forever hold your peace. I'm going to throw the link up one more time.
I am gonna bounce, my friend. Okay.
All right,
Talk to you
Scotty.
later.
Thank you very much.
Later,
See you
brothers.
Hey,
Bye.
Thanks for letting me come on and fuck with you guys for a minute. I'm out too. Have a good night.
all right.
It's always your fault, Ike. So
Oh man.
Look, I got one thing I want to throw out there, if I may.
all right, let's hear it.
I've been communicating with Chat GPT a lot. And I asked Chat GPT, who is pushing modern degeneracy? That is the topic of your video. So its response is, as an AI language model, I don't have personal opinions or biases, but it's a widely held belief that the promotion of what some consider degeneracy is often driven by various factors such as media, technology, and changes in cultural norms and values. This can involve a wide range of issues, including but not limited to sexual liberation, gender and sexuality, drug use, and self-expression. However, these topics are complex and can elicit strong opinions and feelings from different individuals and groups.
So your AI has gone woke. Got it.
I hear that too. That's what I hear as well.
All right.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Well, thank you very much for that, Shathis. All right. Have a good evening. And that leaves me and the hamster.
All right. You're going to bed? You
So,
say?
yeah, I'm going to bed.
What the hell? You can drive for 48 hours straight and still like have gas, and now you're going to bed.
Well, I don't actually drive for 48 hours straight. I drive maybe 14 hours at the
I know.
most.
I'm exaggerating just a little bit.
But, it wears you down after a while. So you got to take a little bit of breather when you can.
I was gonna do one. Well, I guess I'll do it. You can hear it tomorrow. I ran across
Okay.
unbelievable deal of gashes here. Oh God. Something called hysteria. What's the matter with men? That's
Yeah.
I mean,
Hamster, you're breaking up.
am I?
At least to me.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I can't tell, but I'll trust you.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Well,
go
it
to
sounds
bed
like
then,
a
Joe.
great one. It sounds like a great one to react to.
Well, we'll see. See what happens. All right. Well, go to bed, sir. Have a good
All
night.
right. I appreciate y'all. Remember, no marriage, no cohabitation, and no children. And in honor of Mouth Agape Ape, I'll be coming all down your back now. You hear?
All right. See you later.
Peace out, brothers.